Hi everyone and welcome to day 7 of the Summer Sculpt challenge. To end week 1 on a high, we are going to finish with a lovely full body stretch. We're going to specifically focus in on the lower body just because so many of us can hold so much tension, so much tightness within the lower body. So we're going to look to lengthen everything out before we go into week 2. So whenever you're ready, meet me in the middle of your mat and we will get started. So coming all the way down, I'm just going to tie my hair back to start with, but then coming to lay on your back for me, stretching everything out long. So legs away from your centre, hands overhead, just take a full body stretch. And whilst you're here, we'll start to connect to the breath. Even though this is a stretch class, I still want you to connect into your breath. So inhale through the nose. And then exhale out through the mouth. Feeling your body really heavy on the mat. Just relaxing everything down. If you're holding any areas of tension within the body, you're sending your breath to that area. Just slowing the mind down. Slowing your breath down. Not worrying about anything that's happened before this class or anything that may happen after this class. We're really going to focus on our breath today. We're really going to focus on stretching out the entire body, stretching out any tight muscles. It's so important to stretch as well as strengthen our muscles. That's what gives us the incredible tone that you can get from Pilates. From here, I want you to just pull your right knee into your chest. Just hug the right knee in. Just really relaxing your back down into the mat, letting gravity pull it down. You can rock from side to side if that feels good. And I want you to bring your right knee over to the right side. Just open up through your hip. So holding onto your right knee. Keeping your left hip down into the mat, so you're not rocking onto your right hip. Left hip is really pushing down, just open up through that right hip. And then bring your right knee over to the left, look to your right. Feel a nice twist and release through your spine. And then come back to centre. Switching sides so your left leg comes into your chest now. Again, you can rock from side to side if that feels good for you. Just letting your body feel really heavy in the mat. And then open your knee out to the left. So opening up through your hip, keeping your right hip really heavy. Just breathing into it. And then bring your left knee over to the right. Look to your left, feeling that twist and release through the spine, through that midsection, and then pulling the knee in. Just hug both knees in now, just rock from side to side, massaging out the lower back. And then I want you to cross your right heel over your left thigh, push your right knee out and pull your left knee into your chest. So coming into your figure 4 stretch. Stretching out through the glutes here. Again, if you want to, you can rock from side to side or you can just hold it still. Really pulling that left knee into your chest, feeling that stretch through the right glute. And release, just holding onto the back of your right thigh now. I want you to send your right foot to the ceiling and just pull that leg slightly closer into you, stretching out through your hamstring. Doesn't matter how flexible you are. You may be incredibly flexible, you may be able to hold onto your foot and pull your foot all the way down, or if you're tight throughout your hamstrings, you can hold behind your thigh and just pull that leg in. Try and keep the leg as straight as possible. As long as you can feel it, that's absolutely fine. If any stretch today is ever painful, no stretch should ever be painful. If it is, stop, go into another stretch. You can sit into a child's pose, you can stretch out a different muscle, do whatever feels good for you today, but if it's painful, just stop. You should feel a stretch and it should feel like you're stretching everything out, but it should never be pain. I want you to take a big deep breath in for me. And as you breathe out, pull that leg slightly closer to you. Deepening that stretch. And then release that leg down. Good work. Straight onto the other side. So left ankle is coming over your right thigh. Knee comes out to this side and then hug your right knee in. So placing your hands on the back of your thigh, around your hamstring. Again, you can rock from side to side. Just stretching out that left glute. Really push your left knee away. And release. So you're going to place your hands around the back of your left leg now. You're going to send your left foot to the ceiling, come into that hamstring stretch. Keeping both of your hips really heavy in the mat here. Just relaxing the entire body, so relax the shoulders, relax the face. And then I want you to take a big deep breath in for me. And as you breathe out, pull that leg slightly closer to you, keeping it as straight as possible. Deepening the stretch through your hamstring. Now I, for one, am quite tight behind my hamstrings. I always have been. No matter how much I seem to stretch, I always feel really tight behind my hamstrings. This is a really good one to do to get that deep stretch through the hamstring. How many times can you say hamstring in one sentence? And release. Hug both knees in now. Just place your hands on your knees. Just circle out through the legs. Again, massaging out the lower back, massaging out the tailbone. And reverse. This is a really good one to massage out the stomach as well. So if you're feeling bloated, this is a really nice thing to do. Just helps relieve any pressure and tension within the stomach. And then hug your knees in. Just rock and roll your spine up to seated. You're going to come onto all fours. So your hands underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips. I want you to place your left hand behind your head. Elbow is out wide. You're going to take an inhale. You're going to open up through the chest. You're going to bring your elbow to the ceiling. And then exhale, you're going to lower your elbow down to your opposite wrist. So inhale, open. Exhale, lower down. 2 more here. Open. And close. Try and keep your hips nice and still. Last one. This time I want you to open up through the chest. Send your hand to the ceiling. And then you're going to thread your arm through. You're going to come into a full twist. So keeping your hips nice and high. Threading the arm through. Just really twisting through the spine. And then bringing that hand back up. And then placing it down. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So your right hand comes behind your head, right elbow is out wide. I'm going to shuffle myself back slightly so I don't hit the wall. You're going to bring your right hand behind your head, right elbow out wide. Take an inhale, open up through the chest and your elbow to the ceiling. Inhale, bring your elbow down to your wrist. Inhale, open. Exhale, twist. 2 more. Every time you open up through your chest, can you get your elbow even wider? Last one. This time you open up, send your hand to the ceiling, and then twist your hand through, thread your arm through and twist through the spine. Just enjoying the twist and release through your back. And then bringing that hand back up and placing it down. Hands underneath your shoulders. We're just going to go into some cat-cows. So inhale, open up through the chest. And then exhale, round through the spine. Inhale, open. And then exhale, round through the spine. One more here. Inhale. And exhale. And then coming into a neutral position. I just want you to tuck your toes under now. If you need to, you can walk your hands slightly further forward, and then you're going to push yourself back into a downward dog. Just pedal out through your heels for me, stretching out through the backs of the legs. Focus on sending your hips to the ceiling. Really slowly, just pedaling out through the feet. And then pressing both heels down into the mat. You're going to lift your right leg up to the ceiling. You're going to bend your knee, open up through your hip. And then you're going to sweep that leg through. Bring your knee to your chest, place your foot down. Drop your back knee, untuck your toe, and push yourself up into a lunge position. So really focus on sending your hips down to the mat. So you're not just sending your hips forward, you're sending your hips forward and down. Make sure that your hips are parallel. Try not to open up through your hip. Make sure that your hips are parallel and your knee is aligned with your ankle. Just stretching out the hip flexor here. I say this all the time, but our hip flexors can get really tight if you are someone who sits at a desk all day long. So imagine that I'm sat at a desk, my knee is bent. You are just shortening that gap between your leg and your hip. So this is a really good one to just stretch out that hip flexor. It can just help relieve any pressure or tension within the lower back, as well as any tension that you can feel within your hips. And then you're going to send your hips back, flex through your foot, and just hinge yourself forwards. Coming into another version of a hamstring stretch. So this one's slightly deeper. Again, make sure that your hips are parallel. Doesn't matter where you are in this stretch. You may be completely flat to your leg. You may be, like I am, quite high up. But again, that just depends on how flexible you are through your hamstrings. The more that we do these stretches, hopefully the more you feel that flexibility and lengthening through the back of the legs. Sending your breath to the area. Try not to hold your breath. And then you're going to shift your weight forward slightly. I want you to heel toe your foot to the opposite side of the mat. You're going to let your knee fall out. You're going to come into a pigeon pose. Push out through the palms of your hands to start with. Really send your hips down into the mat. And then you're going to lower all the way down onto your forearms if that feels good for you. Another glute stretch here. Getting deep into that glute. Specifically a muscle called your piriformis muscle, which is a muscle that can be overworked. So the more we stretch it out, the more we're releasing any pressure and any tension within that muscle. And then coming back onto the palm of your hands, tuck your back toe under, and you're going to step back into a downward dog. Again, pedal out through the heels. Both heels down into the mat this time. You're going to lift your left leg up. You're going to bend the knee, open up through the hip. And then you're going to sweep that leg through, bring your knee to your chest. Place your foot down. Drop your knee, untuck the toe. And then push yourself up into a lunge position. So making sure that your knee is in line with your ankle. You don't want your foot too far back because then that's just causing unnecessary pressure on your knee. Make sure that your ankle is in line with your knee. Again, make sure that your hips are parallel to the side of the room. Try not to open up through your hip, and then send your hips down into the mat. Keeping the chest nice and high. And then send your hips back. Flex through that front foot. Come into that hamstring stretch. I'm definitely tighter through my left side. So I need to focus more on my form. I can already feel that my hip is starting to come forward. So just making sure that your hips are parallel. The correct form is so much better than deepening a stretch in the area where you don't need to stretch it so much. And then shifting your weight forward, heel toe your foot to the opposite side of the mat. Let your knee fall out, come into your pigeon pose. Pushing out through the palms of your hands to start with, really sending your hips down into the mat. And then lower yourself down onto your forearms. Just focusing back in on your breath here. We are almost done. Really stretching out through that glute. And then rocking onto your glutes. Coming into a seated position. We're just going to finish with a few side stretches. So rolling your shoulders back away from your ears. Just take your right hand up overhead. Lean over to the left. Make sure both sit bones are down on the mat. Really keep nice and open through your chest. And coming up, left hand comes up, reaching over to the right, keeping both sit bones down into the mat, and then coming back to centre. You're just going to take an inhale, lift the hands up overhead, interlink your fingers together, push your palms away from you, so palms are pushing towards the ceiling, look towards your fingertips, feel a full body stretch. And then exhale, release everything out. We will finish class with one last deep breath as always. So taking an inhale, lifting the hands overhead, bringing the palms together, and then exhale, bringing the hands down through heart center. And you are all done. Guys, we did it. We got through week 1. I am so proud of you. Hopefully you feel incredible after this week's sessions. Get ready for week 2. We have so much fun stuff coming up within the next week. I am so excited, so I hope you are too. If you're not already, make sure that you subscribe so that we can work out together again. And I will see you on the mat again tomorrow.